Well, welcome everyone. I am so excited to see you all coming in here to be with us today. This is going to be quite an amazing exploration. It's our first week in a 5-week series with my friend and colleague, Dr. Marian Sides. She's going to share with us the paradigm shift for health and wellness, which is a holistic model. So take it away for us, Marian.
Well, thank you, Gloria, for that introduction, and welcome everyone. I'm so excited to be here and to share information with you on the topic that Gloria just described. And we have one purpose, but it's got an additional component to it, which is a personal development piece. And I will explain that to you. And I'm going to be giving you a lot of information to lay the foundation and to set the stage for what we're going to be discussing in these next 5 weeks. And so I'm going to ask that if you have questions, and I'm sure you will, and I hope you will, that you will just jot them down, and we will have 2 breaks. What we're going to do after I go through the content that I want to share, we do have a testimonial that is going to be a woman who is going to discuss her experience of the inflammatory response, and that'll give us a picture of what it looks like with a real person expressing how they are experiencing that. And then I will have another testimonial. It's going to be myself, and I will describe my experience, and then I will hold off on thanking Diana Pedersen, which I just did thank her for the graph, but I'll do it again when she gets on, because it's an amazing graph that she put together, and it's just so illuminating and intriguing to see on a graph numbers that represent what somebody's feeling when they have an inflammatory response. And I've never really looked at it that way before, and I've never seen a graph like that. So I think it's going to be kind of fascinating as we go through this. So what we're going to do is create this paradigm shift. And a lot of us have made it already, but a lot of people haven't. And it's a shift in our thinking about redox technology and its role in enabling our body to heal itself. And that's a huge shift in thinking for a lot of people. And it's very important that we make that shift. The component that goes along with this is the personal development component. And it is all about learning. And we want to learn what we need to learn. And then we want to learn how we are to learn what we need to learn. And it's something we don't think about. We just do what we do. And when we come back to reflect on it, we never really thought about what part of our mind was used in what we did. And my whole purpose in these seminars is to simplify what is an extremely complex set of processes within our body. And we want to understand, and that's one of the most important things. And learning, as we all know, is a lifelong process. And in fact, one of the top rated lifestyle skills for adult learners is thinking clearly and thinking effectively. There are a number of types of thinking: cognitive thinking, there's creative thinking, there's critical thinking, there's emotional thinking. And we are going to be looking at cognitive thinking here. And other parts do come into play. We can't separate all of that in a human being. We think in different ways. There are so many people out here in our world to help us think. There are so many entrepreneurs and educators, and we are some of them. And so what I'm wanting to do is really refine and strengthen our ability to think about what we're expecting when we give somebody a redox molecules, and be able to explain it in very simple ways. And we have a lot of people out there from whom we can learn. And for example, Jim Rohn, those of you who might be in network marketing would recall maybe seeing some videos with Jim Rohn. He's a very highly regarded network marketer and entrepreneurial, and he teaches us that when we have a philosophy of life, it should include adding value and giving value to the world. And adding value to the world means adding value to the people. And the people are the people with whom we are collegial with, and our customers, and all of those with whom we interact. We want to add value whenever we step our foot into a place with other people. We want to add value in every interaction. We also know John Maxwell. He's the father of leadership, and he's written so many books. And the one that relates here is Sometimes We Win and Sometimes We Learn. And he also wrote a book about failing forward. And all of that implies learning, and it also implies it's lifelong. We are never going to be perfect. And I always tell my students, you don't need to worry about being perfect, because we're never going to get there. You just need to be competent and knowledgeable in the domain in which you're practicing, so that you're a safe, competent practitioner. And that's really what we're looking for. And then we have CEO Tyler Norton, who is an amazing individual. And he's created the ethos of the corporate culture. And he said, it's not about compensation, it's about compassion. And here we have an emotional component with what we're learning and what we're transferring and translating to the people within whom we work. And the one more I want to acknowledge is Jerry White. And Jerry White, Ambassador Diamond within our company, he continues to tell us that 3 strands intertwined can never be broken. And right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 components, 11 people within the strand that can never be broken. And look how powerful that is as we go about sharing in this hour what we're going to be learning, and realizing that we are improving ourselves and our personal development every time we get together and share with other people. So as far as the learning component, you can tell I'm really excited about this. I'm very passionate about being an educator to help other people learn. And right now we're in this whole realm of redox technology and the impact it's making on our lives. And so I think that's the point I'm making, and I think I've made that. And so I want us to think about that as we go through tonight. So what I'd like to do now is take us through what is this paradigm shift that we're talking about. And a paradigm shift is a shift in thinking. It's a perception that we have adopted and created as a habit, and we live our lives around a paradigm. And if we go back 100 years ago, we'll find that the medical community was treating disease, treating illness. People would go to the doctor when they got sick, when they didn't feel well, when they had a disease, go to the doctor and get treated and get better. And as the years went along, we began to think, well, why don't we be proactive and perhaps look at preventing these diseases and go to the doctor before we get sick and before the disease appears, and maybe we can feel better and get better faster. And that whole process went along for a long time, and that's really where we are right now, but everybody's not there yet. I recall when I was completing my military career, the last 10 years, I served as a consultant to the Surgeon General at the Pentagon, and the role of the Surgeon General is health and wellness. And I was creating workshops and I was creating panels, and I had this one panel. It was about fitness, and there are people that were kind of like turning their nose up at this and thinking that's not very macho. and they weren't going to participate, like fighter pilots and people of like minds who weren't very interested in that. So I just renamed the panel, and it was called The Fitness of the Fighting Force, and everybody showed up because that was macho. And so sometimes we have to be creative in how we influence people to move in the direction that we want. And now, as some of us know, and maybe everybody knows, there's some very rigorous fitness requirements getting into the military and remaining into military. And the same thing for other professions and whatever we do. And we personally want to be fit, and we want to be well and healthy. So that's the paradigm that continues. And at some point, maybe around 1980, 1990, we came upon antioxidants and decided that, wow, we could improve our diet if we started taking vitamins and minerals and exotic juices and CBD oil and essential oils and all of that stuff. And that has gone on for since that time, and it continues today. But the whole idea of antioxidants is waning in the way antioxidants affected our bodies and the impact it had, because it's all external to our body. And as we come into redox technology and we begin to adopt that shift of our minds, we know that the one big difference is that redox molecules are innate and native to our body, and that makes the whole difference. And it's just amazing that we have this, and it's God-given. It's God-given. Thank the Lord and praise the Lord for our health these days, because now that we know we have redox molecules, we were born, God gave us 75 trillion of those little buggers. And he says, hey, Mary Lou, you go out there and you live, because you got lots of antioxidants, and you have the glutathione, which is what I gave you. The body produces that. And when we take redox molecules, it boosts, just like you put chlorine or something in a pool, it boosts the potential of our body to work that much better. I don't know how many percentage wise it improves a huge amount. I don't want to use the numbers. I might not be absolutely correct, but and then when we replenish our body, we know that as we age, we lose 10% of those molecules every 10 years. And we need to continue to replenish. So we got the glass full instead of the glass half full. And that's God-given as well. So we have to be grateful. And if you're saying amen or praise the Lord, this is collective energy that we have right here and now as we work together and share. That is the trajectory, and that is the paradigm shift that we are experiencing. And people at different points and different levels. Many people are fitness freaks and we go to the gym, we get better. But there are people like some of my clients who are in their 90s, they go, what do you mean? I have to go to the doctor next week. I'm not sick, nothing wrong with me. Why do I gotta go to the doctor? And they're, in the mind of back when they had to go because they were sick. But we'll continue. And right now, what's the big deal about us understanding redox technology? It's because if we can understand it very simply, conceptually, and very clearly, we will believe it. And when we believe it, we convey to others and they will believe it. It's really about how we present things. So one of our goals for personal development is to understand why redox works as it does. So let's go into the next phase here, and that would be, do we have a screen share on signaling at the genetic level? Okay. If you want to know about this research, you can look it up. I'm not going to discuss the research, but I want to say just a couple things. And what does it mean to signal at the genetic level? What actually is going on? And when we say that we've activated gene signaling pathways, what does that mean? It simply means that the genes are expressing who we are. They're giving us who we are. And at the genetic level, if the gene is you got blue eyes, or you got brown eyes, or you got whatever eye color, that's a genetic expression. Now, that's not going to change by taking redox. I mean, we can't take molecules one week and think we're going to have green eyes, and then take a bunch more and we're going to have a different color. No, that doesn't work like that at all. These are the pathways, and their components, their concepts, you can see them right there. And today we're going to be talking about the inflammatory response. In another way, just by example, what it means is that if we have sufficient redox molecules within our body and we're living a healthy life, that it doesn't mean that because our father had 3 heart attacks and somebody has congestive heart failure that we're going to have that. It means that it's possible we might not, but let me say just right here now, we are not diagnosing, treating, or curing any diseases. What we're doing is, as we take redox technology molecules, we are enabling the body to heal itself. We're just boosting the body's ability to heal itself. So when I talk about these things, that's what I'm really meaning here. And so if your grandmother had diabetes, and you're the next generation, and then the next generation, it doesn't mean that you will have to get diabetes. So these expression of genes that activate these pathways, they can improve our health up to like 48%, and I think cardiovascular, and in this case, up to 31 cents for some of the signaling pathways. But the whole point is that we have an amazing opportunity and a gift to be healthier from redox signaling molecules. So that's all I'll say about that. I want to go into another conceptual model that is very important to understand. And like I say, if we have questions about any of this or comments, we'll go ahead and discuss that later in the break time. I want to talk about these 2 models here. This is the Benjamin Bloom's taxonomy of thinking. Dr. Benjamin Bloom created this taxonomy of thinking many years ago. And I don't remember what year he passed away, but I was at the University of Chicago in the late 70s and early 80s. And he was my mentor, and he was the father of mastery learning. And I've used this taxonomy in teaching all the years. I started in the 70s. Once when I finished my doctorate, I started using this. And this diagram on the left is a cartoonist rendering of how the levels of the taxonomy are played out in a real clinical situation. And I need to move this out of my way here. How do I do that? How do I move our pictures out? Oh, there, I just did it. Okay, sorry. Knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Those are the steps. And what I want to do to describe this artistic rendering here, if you look in the middle, which is the application, third step up, you will see they're doing CPR, they're resuscitating this individual. And that's intervention. That's what application is. It's intervention or taking action. Before we can take action, we need to understand basic terms. The very first level, which is knowledge. We need to understand what is oxygenation, what is circulation. And as far as comprehension, we need to know what do we look for if there's an alteration in oxygenation or circulation. And in this case, we would expect that there is no pulse, that there's no respiration, and there's no consciousness. Now, the level of analysis is the 4th level, but I want to make a point. This hierarchy is developed according to the complexity of each of these thought processes, but many times you have to analyze before you do the intervention. So the fourth level will come before the third level in terms of the necessity of knowing what you need to know. For example, if you didn't analyze all the pieces that made the whole, for this example here, I gave 3 pieces to make the whole: respiration, oxygen, circulation, and consciousness. If one of those was missing, it wouldn't be the same scenario. Like, for example, if there was a pulse, then you only have 2 components missing. And if you have 1 component missing or 2 components missing, you wouldn't be doing CPR. So what analysis does, you need to know what are all the parts that make the whole in order to make your action correct. And then you can go ahead and take the action that you feel is necessary and correct. The next level is synthesis, and you see what they're doing up in the corner. They're in a huddle, and they are talking, and they are planning the next step. So that's creating a new plan, and then evaluation comes along with that. So let's move from that clinical model right now. And what I'm going to do is we're going to keep the taxonomy up there, and you may want to take some notes, because I'm going to just give a definition, very simple definition of each of these levels, as we're going to go into the discussion of inflammation. Inflammation, whatever it is really the essence of our session today. We want to understand the pathway of inflammation and how redox technologies, how redox molecules help our bodies improve. So for knowledge, let's say, and I'm just going to tell you what the components are, and then I'm going to go into a more detailed explanation. For knowledge, it's simply a definition or a term. And what is the definition or term we're looking for here? It's inflammation. What is inflammation? The next step is comprehension. What do we need? What do we do when we're comprehending? We're understanding. We're getting more information that help us to explain and understand. And that information comes from looking at a person and getting the manifestations, or having them tell you what is the problem or how they're feeling. It comes from just having that observation and discussion. The next level for us in application is going to be giving a SIA to someone. That's simply all we're doing. We are offering them redox molecules. That is our intervention. That is our intervention. The next level of analysis, what would go on there with us that's simple, and we don't need any medical background or anything, but what is it we would be doing? We would take probably the results tracker, and we would ask some questions. We would find out, do they have discomfort? What's their mental status? We would get some information about them, and in talking to them, we would find out how old are they. We would also find out, is this purpose that you are going to take this preventive? You're perfectly 100% healthy and you want to stay healthy, or do you have some challenges of health? Do you have 1 challenge? Do you have 2? Do you have 3? And how long have you had those? Those are the components that make the whole of the person that we are going to help with redox molecules. That's analysis. Then synthesis, we make the plan. What's the plan? We're going to start you at 2 ounces in the morning, 2 ounces at night. And we're going to evaluate, jump up to the last level. We're going to evaluate how this works. We will come back down and we might rework the plan. We might add something. We might jump up to 8 ounces. We might go to 10 ounces. But that is what we are doing and how our mind is working at these 6 levels when we are looking at anything that a person might have that comes to us is going to start taking the redox molecules. So now that we have those 6 levels, just stay with that diagram here. And I'm just going to talk more about what is inflammation. And this is the important part, that whatever you find in the textbooks, whatever there might be anywhere. This is a simplified version of what inflammation is. The inflammation is the inflammatory response. It's the initial part of healing. And I don't know if you ever thought about inflammation as being the initial part of healing. It's our immune system's response to an injury, such as a cut of the finger. And if you cut your finger, what is the immune response? The body sends in a whole army of selective white blood cells. And as those white blood cells are working, there's energy and heat creating, and you might touch that finger, and where you had that cut, it might be warm, and it might be inflamed, it might be sore, and all the things you see when you have an injury like that, that's inflammation. And if you are taking redox molecules all along, and you happen to have injured your finger, you might heal very rapidly because you have those molecules that are coming also to the rescue and helping out to heal that part. And what we have here with this inflammation process, it's a good thing. So inflammation is a good thing. It's the body's protection of us from injury, from harm, and it's synonymous with healing. So that's the simple part of what is inflammation. It's simply a process of the immune system that helps the body heal. Now, let's just look at the next phase. On the other hand, inflammation can be hazardous to our health, as you know, especially if the problem goes unnoticed, if it's untreated, if it's ignored. And when we have insufficient supply of molecules, we're going to get poor signaling. The communication may not occur properly, and we might not get help. If we have oxidative stress going on in our body, which is actually disease, and there will be disruption of the healing process, and the inflammation is going to continue to build. And when that happens, our body is experiencing oxidative stress. So very simply, oxidative stress is the body's expression of an altered health status, of a disease. And how does this all happen? Well, I'd like to just mention what are the building blocks to a human being. And therefore, there's an atom, there's a molecule, there's a cell, and then there's you. And again, very simply, what I'm giving you is information at the knowledge level down here. And it's good to know that. And you don't have to know a whole lot of depth, but if you know that an atom is the first level of tissue in the body. It's the first unit of matter, if you will, of the body is an atom, and there's no interaction chemically. It's all by itself, like sodium is an atom and hydrogen is an atom. So all by themselves, they're an atom. But as soon as you have two or more of those atoms, it forms a molecule. And an example of the molecule would be water. And so you have two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of water, and that makes, one atom of oxygen, and that makes water. So that's a molecule. So we go to the next, which is cell, and we have many, many, many cells in our body, and each of them has tons of molecules. So those molecules are operating within cells, and our cells then make up you, make up who we are as a human being. And cells function in every part of our body. And that's why redox molecules work, because there's cells everywhere and the molecules are there in the cells. So it's going to help everything. And I know that this is the part that's hard to believe. And this is the part we have to get across. And if we say that our body is made up of cells, and every organ is made up of many cells, and that's why we take redox molecules, it fortifies the number of cells, and the number of healthy cells is what we really want. So the next point here is a healthy balanced molecule has 2 electrons. And if a molecule within a cell loses an electron, it goes out and becomes a free radical, and it's damaging within the body, and it causes inflammation. So a paired electron is going to work. One that's alone, it's acting as a scavenger in the body, and it will destroy other cells, and itself is a malfunctioning cell. So what redox does, and what our glucothione does, it comes in and it cleans all that up. And inflammation that's gotten to the extent of diseases needs help. And so many times we have to work in partnership with traditional medicine. And that's the only thing we had in the past. But now we have redox technology, and we can add that as a component to our holistic plan. In fact, I mentioned the other day that one of my customers to be was having dental work, and when she had to fill out the assessment form at the office, it asked her on there, do you take redox? And she wondered, why did they ask that? So we had that discussion. So if we have excess inflammation, and we have a lot of free radicals scavenging around, don't have enough our own innate antioxidant, we have a very weak immune system. Excess inflammation in the body will be the cause of a number of different health problems, and a whole category of health problems would be autoimmune diseases, such as rheumatoid arthritis. And again, I mentioned them only for you to understand what are the inflammatory out of control responses oxidative stress look like. So rheumatoid arthritis is one, ulcerative colitis could be another, inflammation of the blood vessels, vasculitis, that causes huge inflammation, diabetes, and there's many, many others that are inflammatory in nature. And so that, if we want to talk more about that, and if there's anything that needs to be clarified, we can do that after. What I'd like to do right now, we're going to listen to the testimonial, but there's 2 parts to inflammation, just to summarize. There's the healing part, when the white blood cells come in and heal the body and everything's fine. And then if it's not able to heal for a whole variety of reasons that I mentioned, it's going to continue and become severe, and it will result in an oxidative stress that'll manifest itself as a type of a disease. And the solution, one of the solutions in partnership with traditional medicine as needed, is redox molecules. And again, a God-given miracle. Every day we're seeing more miracles. So Gloria, do you want to bring up the testimonial of Elizabeth? And let's look at what Elizabeth tells us that might be those 6 levels. That's knowledge, that's comprehension, and we want to really develop our comprehension of inflammation and understand what it is as an expression in the body. It should be number 54. It should be number 54.
There we go.
There you go.
To get the sound to share is when you share that item, there's a little small button in the lower left that you can choose to share audio.
So it's not sounding clear for you?
There's no sound.
Oh, thank you so much for speaking up. I'll reshare my screen because there's a different place that I need to click that button. Whoops. So apologize for the delay. And now let me get my screen back here. So that there are always these opportunities for technical difficulties. So let me pull my things back up because I lost my visuals. And now I have them back.
Was there no sound for the whole thing?
Oh, no, it was just the video sharing. So Diana was there to quickly let us know that you couldn't hear it. And now we can go back to it. And you should be able to hear it. And when you come to real redox results, when you click on the inflammatory response, here's number 54, and we'll see if you can hear it clearly this time. And please let us know.
Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us
out.
on the call. You are from the beautiful mountains of the northwest of Montana. Is that correct?
That's correct, Alan.
Beautiful area. And you've been director of operations for a helicopter company. You've also been a ski instructor up there. I think, what was the ski resort? It was Whitefish Mountain?
Whitefish Mountain Resort.
Beautiful.
Yep.
So tell us where you were when ASEA crossed your path. What was going on in your life when you stumbled across ASEA Redox?
Well, thank you. I feel so honored to share my story with all of you. And my life was in a mess. I had some very serious health conditions. I had been studying nutrition and seeing numerous practitioners for 30 years trying to get help to move forward and improve. And a part of what I was doing was trying to have a healthy diet, a sleeping plan, great nutraceutical, high-end nutritional supplements, exercise, trying to stay hydrated, doing everything I could, following all the advice I'd been given, and I was still completely miserable. I was having vision problems. I was having problems with discomfort throughout my body. I was having problems with my gum health and my intestinal tract. I was having anxiety issues, and I would wake up every morning thinking I needed to sleep for 10 hours and that I was just absolutely uncomfortable and not looking forward to my day. And as a single mom trying to support my child, that was quite a challenge. So I continued to try to persevere, and I tried to do things. I worked as a ski instructor, and I did various different things to support my child and keep him active, but it was very hard on me, and I just really could barely function. So fortunately, some wonderful friends shared the redox with me, and I was a skeptic, a total skeptic. And I spent 3 months, and in those 3 months, I could have had some amazing benefits if I just would have gotten with the program. But I did a lot of studying, and I saw all of the Amazing Molecules website and learned so much and really appreciated that. And I finally went ahead. And the reason I went ahead is I learned that there was no toxicity, no side effects, no contraindications. It was native to my cells, and I felt safe. So I went ahead. And when I did that, a lot of amazing things started happening, including that my vision improved. My family asked me if I was having plastic surgery treatments or cosmetic treatments because they saw how quickly my skin changed. My discomfort went away rather quickly, and I also had an opportunity to have some medical tests rerun. And I had been talking with these practitioners for years trying to improve, so they were very familiar with what was going on with me. And one of those tests ended up improving by 75%. And that is something that had to do with the inflammation in my body. And so that was after 3 months of doubling up my molecules, and I was so grateful. So as you can imagine, my sleep improved. I was able to get up very quickly in the morning at 5 a.m. every morning. I wake up and I'm just ready for the day. I never feel tired or fatigued anymore. And I'm just extremely grateful. But there is something that's really personal that I really want to share. And it's really embarrassing to me that my health had declined so dramatically that when I went skiing with my son in the year before I started the molecules, I had to be taken off the mountain in a stretcher because my legs were too weak to function as they always had. And I just thought it was kind of the end, the beginning of the end for my life. I didn't know how I was going to survive if I couldn't ski, which is our favorite thing to do. And so I was holding back the tears and just trying to believe that somehow I could improve again and get back that strength and ski. And thank God these molecules came into my life, because I've been able to ski now. I've been able to kayak 42 miles in 6 days on a kayaking and rafting trip I went on last summer. I've been able to carry my own golf clubs when I practice my golf. And I've just had the strength that I didn't have prior. And I am so grateful to ASEA and these molecules for helping me move forward and get my life back. So I hope that's inspiring to all of you. You just have to try this. It's the best thing ever, and I'm very grateful. So thank you.
Absolutely fantastic, Elizabeth. You know, to say you're living life again. You're living life again, and that's what it's about. You know, so many people are just not living life. They just can't. They don't have the energy. They don't have the get up and go. What do they say? Their get up and go is got up and gone. And
Yeah.
you're living life again. The one thing I love about your story, I mean, there's so much I love about it, but you know, this isn't the first health product you tried. I mean, you're very learned about health and wellness and nutritional supplements, and you know, science-based nutrition, science-based supplements, and yet there was something missing. And so when we say, look, ASEA Redox is the missing link for better health and vitality, in your case, that's exactly what it was. It was almost like there was a disconnect, and suddenly it connected, and things started to flow again for you. So I really love it. Listen, thank you so much for sharing your story. I have to say to everybody, of course, ASEA is not a treatment or cure for any disease or medical condition. We're simply empowering our body with more of these molecules. What our body wants to do with them, hey, our body will put them to work the way our body knows how to. So, hey, thank you again. Really do appreciate your time, and appreciate you sharing your story with everybody. Thank you.
Okay, are we back?
We are back.
Back. Okay. We have one more thing before we finish, and that's going to be my testimonial in the graph. But do we want to just have a discussion, or do you want to wait until after that and then have a discussion? Do you have something burning right now that you want to add, that you want to comment about? Maybe we should comment about Elizabeth. What is what's the takeaway of something she said that fits inflammatory response and where redox has helped? Did anybody pick up anything there?
Well, I was impressed that she had tried many things and that it was the missing link.
She mentioned that her one lab improved by 75%, and it had to do with inflammation. These labs that measure, that are markers for inflammation, they just pretty much tell you that you have generalized inflammation. They don't label the area necessarily. And she had so many things that she probably had, you know, a high level of inflammation in her body. And that's what a lot of these oxidative stress situations are. Over the years, it takes years to get ourselves so messed up. And then we expect that the redox is going to overnight correct everything. It does almost like what we would call miracles, but it takes a while for it to happen. Okay,
Like me to share the screen again?
why don't we go ahead with the, and I mentioned in the beginning, but let me mention it again. I want to thank Diana Pedersen for this graph. It's brilliant as she is. And don't be alarmed at this. I'm going to explain a couple things. Okay, that shows everything right there. I'm going to point out some things, but let me just say that, well, at the bottom of the chart, there are 4 variables. The first one, bottom left, is CRP in blue. The next one is the steroid, which is in gray. The next one is, Gloria has to be the one to point because I don't have control over pointing.
Yeah.
Then the yellow is the redox, and then the SED rate is the orange. Now the CRP, C-reactive protein, is the marker for inflammation, and so is the SED rates. The sedimentation rate measures how quickly the red blood cells drop and from what height they drop. And the faster they drop, the higher is your SED rate, because when you have inflammation in your body, your cells clump, and then they're gonna, cut off the rest now. Okay, they clump, and so they're going to drop faster. So that's what's being measured there. And on the right, I can't see it because our faces are there, but there is an axis which goes up to 80. Can you see it, or is it just me that doesn't see it?
It's there. It's
We
there.
can see the whole chart.
If you click the minus, your pictures will go away. Do you see a minus place to click?
I just did that. Thank you for telling me. Okay, so the 70 on the right axis is really the unit of measure for the SED rate. And I want to point this out. 70 is very, very high. The normal range for women is 0 to 29. And if you look all the way to the left and follow the orange line all the way to the top, you can see that dot, that orange dot, and bring your screen, your finger across to it. It's at the level of 70. Can you see that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, my mouse isn't working right, but I think you described that very well.
Oh, that's what I was wondering. Am I just not seeing it? But okay, it's not working. So this is important just to understand. So my level was a 70. And now look at the blue line. And the blue line and everything else matches with the left axis. And see the number 5? Well, the first blue dot on the left is a 3.4. We can't highlight that, but it's a 3.4. And the doctor wants that to be below 0.8. Okay, so I start out with both of these hugely increased, and that's significant to know that. And one other thing here is look at the dates. This was March 2020, just about the time when we heard about, you know, the COVID-19 hitting us. And everybody thought they had COVID. But anyway, this is the date at which I started measuring. And then it goes all the way to February. And I don't have February because we finished this graph at the end of January. But this is a 2-year period. And during this 2-year period, you can see the yellow line. I'm on a SIA. You see that line, the top horizontal line? And I started out with 12 ounces, and then it dropped down to 10, and then it went up to 14, and then it came down to 10. That's pretty stable, right? So the influence is there consistently on those 2 years. The next thing I want to point out is if you look at the bottom right gray, you're going to see 2 dots on top of each other, and they're at the level 0. You see that?
Yes.
Okay, then back it up to the next 3. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grays, and they're in November of 2021. So since November of 2021, I have had no prednisone. Well, that's a steroid that I was going to mention it, but I just did. Okay, so and look at the markers. The blue line on the far right is it's 0.77 is what it is, even though it's not listed there, but you can see the graph, it starts at 0. So 0.77, and we wanted it below 0.8. And then the orange is 13. So what is the upshot here? Let me just say what the question is. The question is, what is the effect of a steroid and redox molecules on inflammation that is measured by lab values of CRP and sed rate? So what I'm showing you here is not simple. This is analytic, but I am showing you my profile to demonstrate that the answer is there's no steroid influence since November. There continues to be redox influence, and the labs remain normal. So the only thing we're doing differently is continuing the ASEA. Now, as I mentioned earlier, something like this doesn't happen overnight. So the trajectory we're really looking for and the trend we're really looking for starts down there in November, and it'll be significant if it continues like that and there's no more prednisone and the labs remain normal and the redox continues. I did have another February that stays at a 0 and the markers are in the level. So this is very interesting, I think, of an analysis of what an inflamed body looks like on a graph. And there, those values that went into that, I gave Diana 33 lab tests of 33 different dates of 33 different sed rates, 33 different CRPs, 33 different entries of the redox, and 33 different dates. And it came out like volumes of numbers. It took me weeks to put all that together. And she got this back to me in 15 minutes. Now that I can't. You can go back to the screen of us if you want to.
Perfect.
Can I ask a question before? Well, I didn't understand the gray line. It's steroids. So were you taking steroids? What do you mean by the steroids?
Okay, prednisone is the steroid.
So when it got to 0, you no longer were taking prednisone. Is that what that meant?
That's what that meant, yeah. Oh, you know, there was another thing that, can you put the screen back up? With that question, I want to just address something about your question, Marian. Do you see the gray at the left that's up by the 20?
Yeah.
Well, that orange line is the sedimentation rate, the inflammation marker. So that steroid grabbed that sed rate around its neck and pulled it all the way down to, look where it went. There you go. It's above the 5. Oh, I'm sorry. It goes all the way down.
Right.
That is the sed rate.
Yeah.
It went down to about 10 or something like that. And it never went, it spiked over here in see where the spike is there, and then look right above it, the redox. So those two, I was in a hospital there. I had a little crisis. So my SED rate went up, and I increased my redox, and it brought everything back down to normal.
And you didn't have to increase your prednisone because the redox was doing it.
That's exactly right. But I did have this peak in the middle of the graph with the gray way here, and right in the middle, right there. She's showing it now. That peak came there. We don't know why. I guess, you know, like we're saying, when your body has got all this information over time, and you can have some relapses for whatever reason. I don't know what that was, but I do know that the second spike here was due to a crisis. But you see from the middle mark up there, when it was about 15, it continued to decline. So we needed less and less and less and less and less and less of the prednisone. Here's the big impact that I want to share. The doctor and we negotiated in a friendly way. She wanted me to be on a drug that's a chemo drug. And she wanted me to start up with 3 times the amount of this steroid. And I said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to take that drug. And I don't want to start with 3 times the steroid. Would you let me increase my redox and give me a few weeks? And if it works, good. And if it doesn't, then we'll revisit your idea. Because the condition that she said I had, they didn't really have a valid it was at a time when they couldn't do surgery with COVID, and it would have been an elective surgery. I was just taking a biopsy of the temporal artery, because this is a rheumatoid thing, and they couldn't do it. So they never did get the value that would have confirmed it. So she didn't even know for certain that I had, but she was sure. And I believe her because she's excellent. But that's the thing, what that redox does, this is the beauty of it, people, is that we don't have to go on all these medications. It proves it right here. I'm just a sample of one, but I didn't have to take that drug, and I didn't have to go on those high values. And I'm very healthy right now. I feel great. I'm not taking any of the steroid, and my labs are normal. So you could take that away. Thank you. Good, thanks.
How much redox are you mentioned it, but I don't, would you review that again?
Sure. I started out with 12, and then I went down to 10, and then I went back up to 14. At that time I was in the hospital, and then I brought it down to 10. And right now I'm doing 8. And I don't know, maybe we'll see when my next lab comes, if I should stay at 8.
So are you determining that by how you feel, or by doing energy tests to figure that out? How do you know how much to take?
I don't know. I mean, I just felt like it definitely needed 8 ounces is a sweet spot for a lot of people when they have problems. And I thought I had a heightened problem that I would definitely need more. And I was under the gun to have to be able to decrease that, or she was going to make me take that other stuff, you know. And so I thought, I'm going up to 12, and so I don't know if it would have worked if it was 10, or I don't know that for sure. So we don't have that exactness with how we make these decisions. Yeah.
I have one other question. So when you were doing the 12 and the 14, how quickly, they did the test so you could see the difference. How quickly did you feel the difference?
Oh, I felt the difference way in the beginning. I only had that one serious episode in the beginning of this rheumatoid thing. And then she would ask me, here were my symptoms. I didn't tell you that. Shoulder pain, neck pain, discomfort where it would be hard to take off a shirt. I couldn't, do that. And jaw pain is a classical sign of this giant cell arthritis. And I only had that occasionally, but headache up above the left eye by the left temporal, and the back of the occipital area, a strong sensitivity. And those were the signs, but they're classical. And they went away right away after, even when I took the 20 milligram thing. But she said that we can't get ahead of it with this low dose. We got to go way above it. And I really think redox was its impact that my body, to enable my body to help the healing. I guess the more testimonials we get with similarities, we can, we're seeing research in PubMed that are giving, significance in some of the findings. This is just one sample. Dr. Philippe, any impressions?
Very nice, Marian. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, my impression. Yes, of course, I have lots of impressions here. Your expose was brilliant. The taxonomy of the thinking process and the validation of observation is very important, particularly when there is not enough knowledge behind in a mind of someone who is not much educated and has to convey the importance of the usefulness of what we share and we are all passionate about. So that is very helpful. I definitely will share that tomorrow. I have the honor to replace Dr. Maureen Hayes on a Thursday morning, and I think I will put you a little bit on a grill for 2 minutes or more, probably I will give you the minutes you need to summarize that brilliantly as you do, because this is a tool someone should refer to at all times.
I've used it for years, and it really does help my thinking. And the most important, I hate to say any level is most important, but if you don't comprehend and understand, you can't really do the higher levels at all and know you're doing the right thing. And so the comprehension, if you don't have the comprehension, you might realize that you don't have the knowledge base. And that's what I find I've been doing this with my students for years. It's fascinating that I can tell them exactly where in this hierarchy their thinking has gone wrong and give them an example of why it is wrong with the response they just gave.
And the beauty of this, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah. The beauty of this is one doesn't need to have a very thorough and deep knowledge at all. It is just the structure of the thinking process, how to handle a situation or how to handle a fact, and go through the process to make it sound to someone who doesn't know anything about it.
Exactly.
Regardless of the depth of the knowledge.
That's an important thing.
That's exactly the exact tool I see. Yes.
Yeah. Good.
So I'm happy I passed the test. Thank you, Marian, very much.
I wanted to get across the fact that comprehension is all we have to have, and we don't need anything higher, because the next higher levels is really pretty simple. So our role as non-licensed individuals, I mean, any non-licensed person can do this, and just to have a clear understanding of what the redox is doing in the body, and to help people understand and believe, they need to understand that, it doesn't, they say, well, I don't want to know about what happened to that PSA. I want to know what happened to the cells over here. I said the same thing. It doesn't really make any difference, because they're everywhere. Cells are everywhere.
It is the understanding of the process. And it reminds me of a professor of philosophy I had in grade 12, where he was trying to get in our mind the following. It's more important to have a well-made brain than a well-full brain. In other words, how to juggle with what we see rather than learning, like, grinding knowledge and not knowing how to use it. You see? So it's in terms of process. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Brilliant. Very, very interesting.
May I make one more comment? It brings me to tears. My sisters are crippled up with arthritis. Their hands, their knees, their backs. One sister's older, one sister's 5 years younger. They're suffering. I do not have arthritis. And I just don't know. We just don't know. But prevention, I'm going to keep taking this because I don't want those other, and they have other things I don't want either. So,
I mean, that's exactly what we're learning here. Is that's what we learn with the gene study, that you don't have to get all those things. We just need to fortify the body to use itself right. And that's what we do. And if you don't see something, they go, well, I don't see any result. It's because your communicating cells know where you need it the most, and it may not be where you think you need it the most. It'll get to it, so be patient.
And then Marian, it is also what is where the amount plays out. Because if there is not enough cells to go all the fronts that are needing it, you will only select a few of them, not all of them. So that means raise the amount. Yeah.
Sorry.
Totally.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry to call you on a carpet, but I knew that something valuable would come from you. So, Dr. Marian, is she still there? Thank you for your questions. Excellent. And thank all of you for being here. And it's so good to see all of you, and Rhoda, and we have Dee over here, and Donna. Donna and I are colleagues in the military. We went to Desert Storm together. And Barb, oh my gosh, thank you so much for being you. And Gloria,
can I share one thing, Marian? Well, first of all, I am so grateful that this has helped you stay off those other harsh medicines and everything like that. I'm so grateful for that. And along with Dr. Philippe's comment just now, if we're not taking enough, then it might not go to the area that we want it the most. And everybody, well, most everybody here knows that I'm the poster child for redox. And I had this cell dividing issue on my cheek for 2 years. Yeah. And my little mini me was like, oh, these products don't work. These products don't work. These products don't work. But my intuition, my heart, my knowing what I know, I knew that these molecules were going to the areas that needed it the most. Mm-hmm. And my family has a history of breast cancer and colon cancer. So my belief is all these extra molecules I was using for this little thing right here were not going there. They were going further. And then once I did have my surgery, that's when they kicked in and said, hey, listen, we need to help Barb up here. So, it's, all I know is I rub it, it helps. I drink it, it helps. I like to keep things really, really simple, like Terry Latham. But I love the hierarchy thing that you shared tonight. That was really helpful. So
I would like to have 2 minutes on the top of what Barbara says. I'm sorry to be lengthy here, but this is very important, Barbara. And what you just illustrate with your personal experience reflects what we know well in terms of trauma recovery. They are paradigms, they are patterns. of recovery. They are higher, it's all hierarchized very, very precisely, from top governance that is brain-based to the lower layer you can dream of. And what you summarize on your ways is that the healing starts on the easiest place. And there is a hierarchy, so it is a reversed pattern going upstream from the weakest point, easy to fix. So the body is already, it's magnificent. It's so filled with wisdom and intelligence, this thing. We begin by patching the small holes. So you begin to save energy and you have more energy to tackle handling the big holes as they go up the hierarchy of damage. I have experienced that as a traumatologist all my life. This is science. You just illustrated science.
I'm smiling because as I'm saying, we are very basic and simple. The more we talk, the more complex we are in our thinking of what this is really doing and our understanding of it. So we may be very analytic.
And I would like to finish. Yes, Marian, totally concur with that. But to finish in one line, Barbara, why this scar on the cheek went so fast in terms of healing? Because your body was already on a healing mode as a whole, but patching going for the best they could, and that tumor was actually a big hole in her hull. When it was removed, the scar left was a joke. And then boom, everything went there and it was healed in a flash, a way to speak. But I would say that as I'm talking about this a little bit on a cartoonish way, but you understand what I mean. The big hole reduced, it was fixed faster. Here we go.
So if anybody's a guest today, make sure you get with the person that invited you, because they can share my beautiful story with you. So Donna will get that to you, and I don't know who else is a guest, but hey ladies, great job, Gloria and Marian. We really, really appreciate that. And I know that you recorded it so that we can share it with other people.
Absolutely. We would really love to have you all join us again next week. We're going to be being able to dive more focus on the immune system. Polly says hi, this is Polly, and she just heard your voices and needed to jump up. But we'll be meeting on February the 16th at 3 p.m. Pacific time or 5 p.m. Central time on this very same Zoom link. So thanks for being here today.
I wanted to
Thank you.
Catherine and Denise,